Hi, good evening, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Laula Oyewusi. I am a pastor. I'm an ordained minister of God and also a counselor, and I'm also a lady. And I run a ministry called Magdalene Ministry. It's a community based ministry that reaches out to those who are less privileged than ourselves, in the community. We don't do Sunday church. Our ministry is ministering every day to the needs of people that needs us, and we do pray. And obviously, I'm also part of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, which is well known, all across United Kingdom. So it's wonderful to have you with us today. Basically, a very nice, friendly discussion about what all the religions have together in common. And I'm really quite, looking forward to hearing what everyone is going to say. It's lovely to see you, Dahlia, Liz, Ifan, Malik, and everybody else, and Paja. Yeah, I'm also the chair for Medway Stand Up, to Racism as well, and we are the one that is hosting this event. I'm going to start with you, my lovely Dahlia.
Thank you very much, Lola. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk this evening. I have to say, to start with, that I have not studied theology and that I'm just an ordinary Jewish person who has grown up Jewish. And so my knowledge perhaps is a little less than yours in many ways. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk this evening. And I thought to myself, what do all religions have in common? And the first thing that struck me was a sense of community that gives us social cohesion and identity. And that then we as a community are part of a wider community. We all share the same environment. Many of us have shared interests. We may or may not have the same beliefs, but we all have the same needs as people. So thinking about Jewish teaching, the Mishnah says that you should not disparage any man and not shun anything, for there is no man that does not have his hour, and there is no thing that does not have its place. We're told that the righteous of all nations have a share in the world to come, and that God does not withhold reward from non-Jews who perform his commandments. The Midrash goes on to say, I call heaven and earth as witnesses. Any individual, whether Jew or non-Jew, man or woman, servant or maid, can bring divine presence upon himself in accordance with his deeds. So, the Torah tells us not to hate your brother in your heart. I think that means that we should have tolerance. Tolerance is sympathy, permissiveness or indulgence, a willingness to accept beliefs or practices which differ from or conflict with our own. So then this brings me to something which is sometimes known as the golden rule, and which is so similar across so many religions, it's extraordinary. Love thy neighbor. In Judaism, Leviticus, love your neighbor as yourself. In Christianity, do to others what you would have them do to you. Islam, as you would have people do to you, do to them, and what you dislike to be done to you, don't do to them. The Baha'i faith, and if thine eyes be turned towards justice, choose thou for thy neighbour that which thou choosest for thyself. And it carries on in so many different religions. In Buddhism, hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. In Taoism, regard your neighbour's gain as your own gain, and your neighbour's loss as your own loss. So how would I sum all of that up together? And I would say, we have more in common than that which divides us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dahlia. I love the community cohesion. I love the fact of loving your neighbor as you love yourself. And I love the fact of whatever it is that you want to, done to you, so you do unto others. And it will be very interesting, to see what Liz is going to say next. Over to you, Liz.
Thank you. It's also a privilege to talk, and thank you, Dahlia, for stealing my lines.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
One of the greatest privileges I've had in my life is serving in a multi-faith team in a prison chaplaincy. The discussions we had there as a team and the times that we spent together and shared were very special and shaped my understanding and my desire to promote interfaith relations. We live in a world where people are lost and searching. Young people grow up with a sense of entitlement, but they still feel cut adrift, and the need to belong is very strong. Yet at the same time, they're not willing to hear or see anyone else's point of view. That, in my opinion, is why gangs are so easily able to recruit our youngsters. They offer what they need, family and belonging, but to groups with no morals or compass. Unsurprisingly for me, my Christian faith is a bedrock to my being, and for me, that's the only way to live my life. Worshipping and following the teachings of Jesus are crucial to me. But I come from a very privileged, not a rich, but a privileged position, brought up in a loving family with clear values and morals. As a Christian, I'm called to spread what we call the good news of Jesus. The only way that can be spread is in love and respect. Our Bible tells us that man is created in the image of God. Man, as in men and women, not different faiths, all men. We are commanded, as Dahlia said, to love one another. And there are no boundaries on that love. We're not called to love the people we like or the people who are like us. We are called to love. For too many centuries, religions have felt threatened by different and other and have wasted time fighting to get to ascendancy. Running interfaith exhibitions with the men who were in my care was the highlight of my post. Getting men to sit down and explain what their faith meant to them, to teach each other an understanding of that faith and go out as friends. And always there was the surprise from those taking part about the commonalities: faith, discipline, care for others, values and morals. I believe that as leaders of religions, we are in a unique position if we have the courage to grasp it. We can help a lost world show the way, but we can only do it if we work together in love and respect. I know the Christians have got a way to go. I know some of my more radical Christian friends prayed for me when I was in the team because I was willing to listen to men and women of other faiths. They thought that I would be contaminated. We can learn from each other without being threatened. We can build a stronger and fairer world if we work together in love.
That's really beautiful. Thank you so much, Liz. Love and respect. All men are created in God's image. It didn't say it's just the Christians who are created in God's image. It didn't say it's just the Muslims or the Jewish or the Sikh that's created in God's image. All men are created in God's image. And when we say all men, that's inclusive of women. Yeah. And we talk about caring for others and also the values and the morals. I love the fact that, what you said about people are lost, and they're searching. I know when I used to volunteer alongside the chaplains, giving pastoral, support to prisoners in Rochester prison with Jeffrey and Emmanuel King, and also Nick Ash. Everybody has different faiths, and we were able to work together and ensure that everyone's need is met. And for those who are searching, they were also able to get something from, what we were sharing with them. So thank you so much for what you've said. And just like people think that you are going to be lost, they also thought the same of me, because I was raised by my Muslim grandmother. So I grew up in the mosque and I also grew up in the church. As the chair of multi-faith for a large housing organization, when I begin to quote some of the Qurans and when they're praying and I'm also repeating what's been said, people are like, what? When you say you're a Christian, oh, what's going on? I'm like, yes, there's only one God and we have different routes to get to him. So let's all be happy. So thank you for that. I'm going to go to Ifan. Please do share your thoughts with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Again, thank you to the organizers for organizing this event. And it's really, it's a privilege for me to be on this table. And thank you, Liz, for stealing my starting. I was going to say I'm very privileged to be in prison chaplaincy, and Liz and myself, we've been good colleagues for past 4 years. So really, best time at work for us is when we sit together lunchtime and speak about our own faith, and at the end we discover that we've got so much in common. But to begin with, oneness of God. We all believe in God. We have different names for him. As Muslims, we say Allah. And that's a fundamental belief of every faith, that there is none to be worshipped. We shouldn't be worshipping anyone else except one Lord. He's our sustainer. He's our protector. He has created everything. Nothing comes without his command, and everything happens with his command. And also, when we are speaking about fundamentals, besides the oneness of God, then we move on to representatives. Like you said, that we as human beings, we are the mirror of God. And this is actually mentioned in the Quran, in the second chapter, that inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa, that oh Adam, I'm sending you to the earth, and you will be my caliphate. So that we are representatives of God, and us as human beings, looking at commonalities, this will take us much more further. Then talking about other fundamental beliefs, believing in angels, believing in the prophets, believing in the books, the final day and fate. This is all common between us, and so many other commonalities, especially when it comes to the people of the book as well. So yeah, that's I would pass on to someone else. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ifan. Worshipping one God, there's only one God, like I said earlier on. And there's only one commandment. When you look at the commandment that is in the Quran, in the Jewish book, in the Bible, they're all interwoven. They're all speaking the same thing. And we are the mirror of God. And also talking about the final day, which we all talk about as the judgment day, and believing in prophets. We have a lot of prophets, in the Quran and the Bible, in the Jewish book. And, the prophets are everywhere. And one other thing I always say to people when I'm kind of like talking about John 3:16, when he says, "For God so loved the world," he said, "and whosoever believes," whosoever. He didn't say if only Christians believes, if only the Muslim believes, if only the Sikh believes, if only the Hindu believes, or if only the Jewish people believe. Then that's the time, that they will know that in fact, there is God. It says, if whosoever. And the whosoever is all of us, regardless of whether we're Christians, Muslim, Jewish, or Hindu, or Sikh.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
Thank you for having me as well. My name is Paramjot, but you can call me PJ for short if it's easier. So I'm going to talk about the Sikh perspective. Rather than Sikhism, we call it Sikhi, which means being a Sikh is being a disciple or a learner. And I'm going to talk about some theological similarities as well as the social implications of those. Like you said, the oneness of God, we also believe in the oneness of God. Sikhi is a monotheistic faith, but as well as just saying that there's one God, that has implications that duality to us is just an illusion. So duality, difference, is just an illusion. We can extend it further into believing that everything is one and everyone is just one. So I believe that Islam has a belief in something called Bismillah. So at the beginning of every chapter, thinking about God and remembering the oneness of God and the mercy of God. We also have something called the Mool Mantar at the beginning of our Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and also at the beginning of every verse. So it starts with the word ik, onkar, ik is one. So we're always called to remember the oneness of God and to remember God's merciful nature. In Sikhi, we have something called seva, and seva means selfless service. We're called to do nishkam seva. Kam means desire, and nishkam means desireless. So we're called to serve people, humanity, the world, without any desire for reward, without any desire for heaven, hell, enlightenment, whatever you say. And if we were to say that there are pillars of Sikhi, we would say Guru Nanak taught us about Kirat Karni, Vandike Shakna, Nam Japna. Kirat Karni, earn an honest living. Nam Japna, meditate on God's name. And Vandishakna, you have to share what you have with others. And that's another big similarity that we have. Of course, in Islam, Christianity, Judaism, there's a lot of giving to charity. There's giving a certain percentage of your income to charity. We also have daswan, so we have to give at least 10% of what we earn in time or in money to charitable causes, as well as doing any other kinds of seva that we can. How that plays out in our daily, we do something called langar in our gurudwaras. So whenever you go to a gurudwara, you'll find free food. It's for absolutely everybody, Sikh, non-Sikh, man, woman, caste, irrelevant. Everybody sits on the floor with humility to signify their equality. It's not a religion thing. So again, the emphasis is on service of mankind. I think when we think about Christianity and Jesus, I'm particularly drawn to the Sermon on the Mount. When Jesus talks about blessed are the meek, they'll inherit the earth, there's a lot of similarities that I see between that and Sikhi, where it comes to compassion for the poor and that those are outcasted. The way that we talk about God, and in turn the way that we should be, God is called Deen Dayal, Karnalya hai, Tuti Garden Har Gopal. So compassionate to the poor, the compassionate master, the home of compassion, the mender of the broken. These are all things that we read every single day about what God is and about who a Sikh is. Compassion is the foundation of Sikhi. They are towards every living person, every living thing. There is also humility. Again, there's that comparison. We're called to think of ourselves as the dust of everyone's feet. That's how humble and lowly we should be. And we take that in our Gurdwara. One of the things that you'll probably see if you go is people cleaning other people's shoes. So something that would have been seen as something very, very lowly, that the very, low caste people would have done in India at the time, we do it and consider it a blessing, because we want our mind to be humble. Another direct comparison with that and what Jesus Christ taught was that emphasis on inward purity and not on ritual observances. And lastly, just the renunciation versus life as a householder. Basically, Sikhi is a religion that advocates living the life of a householder rather than in comparison to like the sadhus of India, where they would go off and meditate in the forest. Sikhi, like Islam, Judaism, Christianity, talks about living in the world, having a family, having obligations towards society and others, and fulfilling those. So I just want to emphasize that Sikhi is really, it's got such a massive foundation for interfaith dialogue and acceptance. We're told not only to accept other religions, but to also fight for their religious freedom. So, for example, our ninth Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, was beheaded for the religious freedom of the Hindus, a religion that they didn't follow themselves, but the Hindus were being persecuted at the time and they came to the Guru for help. So obviously that's a massive example for us. We have Gurbani, which is the words inside Guru Granth Sahib Ji, our eternal Guru, the word of God. We have words from Bhagats that are Hindu and Muslim as well. So we've got Sheikh Farid, we've got Bhagat Kabirji, who was a big influence in the Hindu Bhakti movement. And if you think about, we see this as the word of God. How can the word of God come from people that are from different religions? Why do we venerate it that highly? Because the word of God transcends any kind of religious label to us. We see the word Bhagat, which we give, the name that we give these people, is somebody that's imbued with the love of God, somebody that is a devotee, and that transcends Muslim, Hindu, Christian, whatever label we give, and we venerate it so much that we see it as our God, our Guru, that we can read their words every day. So yeah, I hope that's given some kind of foundation for the respect that we should have towards other people of other religions and the similarities between us.
Thank you so much, PJ. That honestly, that was really interesting. You talk about discipleship and learning. We are all called into discipleship, regardless of what religion we belong to. The Bible tells us, and so the Quran says, we have to humble ourselves. And the Judaism also practice humbleness, selfless service, giving to charity. This is all the things that we have in common. And I pray, and every single time I always pray that all these things we have in common, let it be what people will be remembering. And when we remember what actually unites us together as one, that one love, that oneness that we've been talking about, the world will be a better place. The confusion will be swept away, and people will begin to love God, love themselves, and love their neighbors. Ifan, what would you say to people who are going to be watching this video after tonight? What would you say to them who are trying to cause division between all of us?
I would say stop watching media news. How much damage does the news does to us and make us look like it is very bad. And instead, educating ourselves, reading about different religions, having a dialogue, speaking to others. This will help so much that we won't be in so much distance. Rather, we'll be together.
Thank you so much. I remembered when I organized the Diwali event, and a Christian came to me and said, "Lola, what are you doing? Why are you organizing Diwali?" I said to him, listen, how would you understand somebody else's religion? And how would you be able to relate to that person when you want to talk about religion? And how can you support that colleague when there's a time for need, when you don't understand their religion? And because of what I said, he actually came and attended that event. It's just educating ourselves and understanding. So, PJ.
I think just to remember and understand our human commonalities. We have so much more that makes us the same as each other. As humans, we are all looking for a place to belong. We're all feeling pain, sadness, happiness. Ultimately, our experience is a shared one.
Thank you so much, PJ. Liz, I'm going to come to you next.
I'd say start talking to each other, start realizing that there's no Muslims, they are real people. There are no Jews, they are real people. We can all talk to each other. We are all people, we are all human beings, and we can get along, we can understand each other. Stop being so scared of something that you don't know about and find out about it, and you'll find that actually it's just part of being human.
Thank you so much. Dalia.
I would come back to what I said earlier, that we have more in common than that which divides us. And listening to all of the speakers this evening, that becomes all the more obvious. We've talked about humility, we've talked about charity, good deeds, and in Judaism we have mitzvot. Food, I mean, there's a great Jewish saying They tried to kill us. We survived. Let's eat.
Mm.
Food runs through everything. We all have so many similarities. The love thy neighbor theme, all of these things, the fact that God is created, we are created in God's image. We have more in common than that which divides us. If you don't believe that, then just look it up, because it's true.
Thank you so much. I love the word creative. The God that we serve is a very creative God. If we are all the same, life is going to be too boring. And I'm hoping that after the pandemic, sometimes in the future, we'll be able to have a community event where all the religious groups can come together and we can have what we call a religious bazaar. A religious bazaar means we're going to bring the community in to come and see the commonalities that we have together. And we're going to have lots of food, lots of drinks, and we have lots of dancing, lots of singing, and we'll be quoting the same things that we've just said tonight. From the Quran, from, the Jewish book, from, all the Bible and every other books that we have that is just saying the same thing. We're going to be sharing that, with our community at some point in the future. Right, okay. What are the 3 key things we can all do to bring us closer and create acceptance?
Speak up for each other. One of the things that distressed me when I was in the prison service was the pain felt by real Muslims when an event happened. I know I was on duty with another one of our young Muslims when 7/7 happened. And he came in and we had to send him home because he was in tears, because what had been done in the name of his religion. He wouldn't have been able to speak to many people who were anti-Muslim at that point. But we can, Christians, Jews, the rest of us who know that those horrible things that are done are not done in the name of any religion. I grew up in London with the IRA, and I used to get told, you Christians do nothing but blow each other up and fight. Well, actually, we don't. So I think we need to speak up for each other and speak out for each other, and what we know is true.
We should eat together, and while we eat together, we should talk and understand how similar we are. This dialogue is what will help us swim together rather than sink, and it will help other people around us see that we are happy to talk to each other and to be friends with each other, and that we don't hate each other. We absolutely don't hate each other.
PJ, do you want to come in? Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, so like I said before, I think we should focus more on the commonality of human experience. So you mentioned having community events. We should have more community events, doing things that, get us talking to each other and actually understanding our history, our heritage, our experiences. We need to learn to see other people as we are, that are struggling and going through things, that have a past and have a family, have, sort of emotions and hopes. So, things like art exhibitions, things like just community events, of which I'm sure we could come up with lots of ideas.
Sure.
But there definitely needs to be that dialogue, and we can come up with creative ways to build that.
Thank you so much, PJ. So I'm going to finish it off by saying any form of discrimination is a sickness. Islamophobia, persecuting Christian, persecuting, Jewish people, or the Sikh or the Hindus, all form of discrimination is a sign of sickness. And whoever is doing that needs help. They need help. And learn from one another. That's educating ourselves. So thank you, everybody, and God bless you.
God bless.
Thank you so much.
Anything else anybody wants to add to what's been said already?
I want to say something. When we say we love God, then how can we not love the creation of God?
That's right.
Whoever it is. So basically, if I claim that I'm a God-loving person, I'm not loving the people of other faith, I am a hypocrite. This is the first thing. So, I mean, every religious person should love every single person, whatever the faith the person has. So I think, as you mentioned, I think we have to be sincere in respecting other religion, just not by words. It should be in my heart, right? And I should show the respect, with my body language and whenever they need us. Number two, as someone mentioned, I think, we have to with each other the place of worship regularly, to bridge the gap and to understand. We are not here to discuss or debate who is right. We are here to understand each other, because I think 90% things are common, and there are a lot of misunderstanding. The hate is generated by the media and the people who are ignorant. They just want the other is a bad guy. No one is a bad guy. Everyone is a good guy, right? And the third thing is that we have to work in our community to generate love for other people of people of other faith, because this is it's very difficult, because people see the bad things of the other people, and they think everyone is bad.
Yeah.
And when the mosques were attacked in New Zealand, I know the people from other faith came to our mosque and they showed their love, and we were so much grateful. The people from other school of place of worship, they came and they supported. And then what happened in Sri Lanka, we went to all the different churches, and it was really good to see the people when we standing with them and supporting them, because we are together. We
Thank
are
you so
just
much.
follower of one God.
I just felt that it was worth highlighting that in Medway, we have a really active interfaith group. We have lots of different groups that are working across many, many diverse cultures and faiths. I run the Community and Faith Forum, which is part of Medway Voluntary Action. And across the pandemic, we've worked across about 30 different organizations, faiths, communities, cultures. And we have been able to help so many people. And it has been so inspirational listening to the goodness in people's hearts. And it makes no difference what faith or no faith that they are.
What you've said is actually true. I mean, I've seen how you bring people together and how everybody, regardless of their beliefs or not, I just come together on the table and do what is good for their community.
Yeah, so yeah, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to everyone who's participated. I think, it's wonderful to see this. I carry a hat of Medway Interfaith Action. I'm chairing that at the moment. And we try to bring everyone together on that basis of we have more in common than we have differences. And those differences we need to respect, but really it's this type of dialogue and all of those points which were mentioned already of coming together. So let's not leave it at that, and let's continue to work together, because it's a long road ahead to build those communities together, and really appreciate this small effort towards that. Thank you.